For this project, you'll need to cut 48 strings to 35-inch lengths. Start by attaching 6 of these strings to the hoop by using a reverse lark's head knot. Set aside the 4 outermost strings on both sides so that you're only left with 4 strings in the center. You're going to use these 4 strings to tie a single square knot. Bring in the next 2 strings on each side, but still set aside the outer 2 strings for right now. Pick up the outermost string on the left and cross it inward towards the center of the square knot, and use the next string over to tie a clove hitch knot around that lead string. Then slide along the hoop so that it's sitting next to the square knot, and use the next 2 strings from the square knot to tie 2 more diagonal clove hitch knots. Once this row is finished, switch to the other side and do the same thing but mirrored. So take the outermost right hand string and cross it over towards the center of the square knot, then using the next 3 strings over to tie 3 diagonal clove hitch knots. Join the 2 center lead cords together by crossing one over the other and using whichever one is underneath to tie a clove hitch knot around the other. Now it's time to bring in the outermost pair of cords. So again, like in the last step, take the outermost side, cross it inward over the other side, and use the side underneath to tie a clove hitch knot. Then slide it up next to the rest of the knots and continue the row of diagonal clove hitch knots using the remaining 4 strings. Repeat the previous step on the right hand side this time. Attach 6 new strings to the hoop right next to the first section. Once they are all attached, repeat the same pattern that you did for the first section. For now, set aside all of the strings except for the 4 centermost strings between the 2 sections. Use these 4 strings to tie another square knot up at the top. Next, count 1 string over from the square knot on the left and cross that over towards the center underneath the square knot. Use that as a lead cord and tie a row of 2 diagonal double half hitch knots or clove hitch knots. Repeat on the right hand side, creating another row of 2 diagonal clove hitch knots. Again, cross one of the lead cords over the other and use the cord underneath to tie 1 diagonal clove hitch knot over the other. Pick up the next cord on the left hand side, crossing it over as another lead cord for a row of 3 diagonal clove hitch knots. Repeat this step on the right hand side. tie one clove hitch knot to connect the two sides. Continue adding sections until you've filled up the hoop. Next, it's time to trim off all of the loose cords. I like to leave about 1 inch to 2 inches of length on each side, but this can vary by preference. I do recommend cutting a little bit longer than you think you will need, because you can always go back at the very end and trim off a little bit more. Once you've trimmed all of the loose hanging cords, it's time to brush them all out into a nice smooth fringe. So for this, I'm just using a standard comb. Move in small sections at a time and be careful not to snag any of the knots as you're going through the sections. Once all of the fringe has been combed out, you can go in with the scissors and just clean up any uneven ends. And that is the completed project. You can choose to hang it on your wall directly, use it as a centerpiece for a table, or even attach a mirror to the inside. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more tutorials just like this.